Connect MKE is sponsored by U.S. Bank. Homeownership is still a big part of the American dream, but the process of purchasing a home can be challenging. As home prices rise and interest rates stay relatively high, homeownership can seem out of reach. Fortunately, there are programs to help individuals and families, even if there may be barriers to making your dream of homeownership come true. Joining us with more from U.S. Bank are Nina Johnson, Senior VP, Wisconsin Branch Banking Market Leader, and MacKenzie Dawson, Mortgage Retail Manager. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much for being here with us in the studio.
Thanks for having us.
One of the things that we're going to talk about are some of the unique programs that U.S. Bank offers to help home buyers. But first, let's get an update on what's actually happening in the housing market. What are we seeing in terms of interest rates, and just what's the overall status of what's going on?
Sure. Every market's different, obviously, throughout the state. But, whether you're seeing those interest rates elevated, the biggest thing that, I talk to my clients about is the fact that we're in a more normalized market today. We saw those historically low rates for so long, and we got really used to it. And now we're in a more stable, historically average market for interest rates for mortgages. So that's something that has, come to light, and it has triggered a lot of discussion recently with the way the market's been moving. But overall, the market is stabilizing, really, and we're in a more normalized market. So
that's good. One of the things that we want to do is talk about a couple of different programs that exist that U.S. Bank really offers to help folks. So let's talk about one first, Mortgage 101. Becoming mortgage ready. How does that program help to prepare people to purchase a home?
Sure. Mortgage 101 is one of those where we partner with our branches and other partners within U.S. Bank to kind of spark the interest on, am I looking to purchase a home, and when is that timing going to be right? And so we work on, credit building and things like that, where we can look at their credit and see if it's, now is the time for them to do that, and help them, guide through that path to home ownership.
When people take a look at credit and they come into a branch looking for some help, how important is it to think about that, to understand what your credit is, and to begin the process of repairing or rebuilding your credit if your credit's not where it needs to be?
It's very important, and I would say it's the first step in getting to, I would say, a prepared state. So when you think about opportunities as it pertains to your banking experience, talking to your bank about whether or not they're ready for home ownership is one of several conversations you should be having with your banker. Starting with your basic checking savings. How does that look? How are you caring for your checking and savings accounts first? And then going on to lending, which is when we talk about mortgages. When we think about lending, we have to think about the credit worthiness of the borrower. And so when we think about somebody who may have never purchased a home, may have never actually rented for a long period of time, and they're just starting out, and they may have some hiccups on their credit. They may have had some experiences, and with that, we want to make sure that they're ready to take the next step, which is to talk to MacKenzie. But we don't want to just put them in front of MacKenzie. We want to make sure that they're prepared. And so we work exclusively with leaders in the Milwaukee market, which are commonly known as affordable housing experts, as well as community development financial institutions. The acronym of that is CDFIs. Those entities work with the bank to make sure that individuals can handle a mortgage. I mean, it's one thing to purchase a house, it's another thing to maintain it. So we want to make sure that people are ready, full scope, in becoming a homeowner and also sustaining the home once they buy it. And so that's how we work with different organizations in the community to make sure credit is ready before they actually go after the big ticket item, which is the mortgage. And, it's a great investment too. So just thinking about it from that perspective and understanding that this is possibly one of the biggest investments that individuals will make, we want to make sure they're successful in their journey.
One program that we've talked about a little bit on the program from time to time is the Access Home Loan Program. I don't know if people realize that Milwaukee is just one of about a dozen places nationwide where the Home Access Program exists. What are some of the advantages that homeowners can find, potential homeowners, when they work through the Access program?
Sure. Access Home is a program that allows for down payment assistance and a lender credit towards closing costs. So there's twofold when you're purchasing a home. You have your down payment, and then you also have your closing costs that come to play. Access Home is a really great program because they can get up to $12,500 in a down payment assistance program. And so that helps them with their down payment and most likely will cover all of it. And then they get a $5,000 lender credit that we provide them to pay their closing costs. Their closing costs typically will stay underneath that amount. They can also use some of that to buy down their interest rate if that is a concern of theirs. So it twofold, right? They're going to get down payment assistance and they're also going to get help with those closing costs.
I think that's going to surprise some people because you don't expect when you go to the bank to get a loan for your mortgage that the bank is going to help you get what you need. Why is this something that U.S. Bank is doing with the Access Loan Program?
So, I want to just take us back a minute, a couple years to the launch of Access. The program started during the pandemic. And I know we were on before with Lenny McNeil, who was the head of affordable housing nationally at that time. And we talked about the launch of it. And, the one thing that I want our viewers to understand is that the launch happened right here in Milwaukee. This was the first of the national programs that happened right here. And our first closing on an Access Home mortgage was located in Milwaukee. So the person in this story actually purchased the home that they lived in for years, over a decade, paying rent. And they took that property and they purchased it and walked into that experience, back to the investment, with a six-figure property and tons of equity. So the importance of Access is not only for the purchase and also the opportunity to understand the importance of building wealth, but it's also to rebuild a community. So when you think about revitalization of a neighborhood, U.S. Bank is a part of that experience, making sure that our neighborhoods have sustainable homeownership, not only renting, but homeownership in place.
One other program that you offer is the down payment assistance that features the American Dream mortgage plan. What options does that program offer? Are they similar to some of the other plans?
Sure. So American Dream allows the buyer to come in with as little as 3% down for the purchase of a new home. There's a lot of different grant programs, down payment assistance programs that we can partner with that come from local and state organizations that we can take advantage of those down payment assistance programs to get that 3% or maybe part of the closing cost as well. Along with Access Home, we typically partner Access Home with the American Dream product. So those are options for borrowers. We have a plethora of, different loan programs with, 0 money down, 3% down, things like that. And there's this misconception out there that, you're running a mortgage calculator and it always pre-fills to 20% down. And that's not the case. Yes, you can definitely do 20% down, but there are advantages to doing the lower down payment programs, especially for first-time home buyers.
And when we look at these particular programs, they help in terms of down payment assistance or having a lower amount that you have to put down. People still should feel free to come in and talk to their banker about these programs, even if they've had hiccups or other issues in the past. You don't have to have perfect credit in the past to participate in these programs.
That is absolutely true. The first step is working with someone in the mortgage industry. So your mortgage partner, to kind of see where you're at and get a baseline. U.S. Bank offers a lot of solutions for clients. Sometimes we have clients that come in that don't have a credit score. They just have never borrowed money before. And they're like, where do I start? Because they need to establish a credit score. U.S. Bank offers a secured credit card where they can put money down and then take out the card. And that's the collateral on it. And then they can make payments on that to establish a score. And so those are, some of the solutions that we can go through within the branch partners to try to get them, mortgage ready. We need that payment history.
Right.
The payment history is like the biggest part of it.
So good risk.
Exactly. Yes.
So I think the thing that we can take away from this for people who may be watching and may have that dream of home ownership, but they think they can't do it. Yes, you can. And there are programs that can help you. You just need to go into the bank and ask.
Just thinking about the person who is wanting to be a homeowner, yet they don't think they're qualified, I would say don't opt out, reach out. Don't opt out, reach out to your banker and make sure that your banker understands the full scope of what you're trying to accomplish and where you've been. Everybody has a story, but let us pick up the pace with you by, just helping you along the way on this next leg of your experience, right? So from that perspective, don't be shy. Don't worry. Your banker is here to help. We've got amazing mortgage loan officers that will, just guide you no matter where you are in the process. And if it's not time now, we can get you prepared for the future as well. That's the other part of the story that people don't realize as it pertains to mortgage loan originations. We look at a deal based on risk, as you mentioned, and it's risk in this moment. It's not risk for the future. So if you don't qualify today, we want to set you up with resources, with just information so that you can prepare for the future. And in some cases, it may not take you as long as you think it will take you to get approved for a loan. In fact, I was recently on a radio segment talking about this very thing. And one of the leaders in the radio station said, I want to buy a home. And I said, well, did you go and get a pre-qual? She's like, no. I said,
You're qualified, right?
Pre-qualification.
Yeah.
Do you know how much you're qualified for? And she's like, no, I don't. I said, okay, well, you need to do a quick. So I'm sitting there in the booth and she's doing the pre-qual on her phone. By the way, mobile phones are great. She's doing the pre-qual and she's like, oh, I'm 800 plus. I'm like, you're in the 800 club and you didn't even know it. And so the next time I talked to her a week later, she's like, I'm looking for a house. So sometimes it's just the empowerment of, just the information that you share with people that moves them forward. And I'm super excited to say at US Bank, we are about empowering people. In fact, that's our logo. Powering human potential is all, that we do internally. And we try to make sure that our customers and our small business clients feel the same way.
And by empowering people, we move people from dreaming about home ownership to becoming homeowners.
Absolutely.
Nina Johnson, MacKenzie Dawson, both from US Bank. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if you want more information, you can visit the US Bank website at usbank.com. We're right back.